And look who's the first one here. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Giving everyone the stink eye. It's like you come up here because you want attention, and then you don't do anything. You just look like you don't want to be here. Isn't that how it always is? At least look at yourself. There you are, right there. Hi, everyone. There we go. Starting to get some people popping in now. Hi, Ray. Hey, Lou. Bye, bye. Hi, VNA. How are you? Gonna start out drinking a little faster today because I just got done doing my job interview. So I already got my throat a little bit dry. Real good. How's everyone else doing today? Doing one of these a little later today. Caller number 20. Yeah, I don't know. You win the prestige of being caller number 20. Hopefully we're not going to get a lot of distractions. There's been some kids running around the neighborhood playing ding dong ditch, uh, in the last 20 minutes. So hopefully they're past it. I got to the door fast enough to catch them when they weren't running away. And then I sat there and watched him do it to one of my neighbors, and he came out. And I was able to say, "Oh yeah, there's those guys over there." And so they got caught twice. So maybe that'll be the end of that. Banana muffins were good. Yeah, that was a very easy and very good recipe. I'm glad we tried that one. Yep, Memphis aircraft mechanic is back and at the start. That's good. Yeah, the stew's really good. In fact, I had some of it for dinner last night. That turned out really well. Can I tell you about the job? Well, I'll tell you what I know. This was an interesting job interview. It was a group interview where there were two managers interviewing seven of us, and we're all applying for the same job. Although I think there's more than one position available, and we were one of three groups that were in there today. And they basically just, a lot of times they'll ask you, how would you deal with this kind of a situation? How would you deal with that kind of a situation? This was more a bunch of like ethical questions. If you're on a team and one of your teammates isn't work pulling their weight, what would you do about it? And my approach is I usually like to try and work with a person individually before I get management involved. Because maybe there's just something going on and maybe I can help on that. That's just I've got some management experience, and that's just kind of the way I've dealt with things like that in the past. Then if I can't deal with it, then we'll move on and get management involved. But I don't want to be the person that just runs to management every time something doesn't go right. Maybe there's something else going on, and maybe I can help. And at least if I know a little bit what's going on in that situation, when I do go to management, I can say, yeah, this is happening, but there's a reason for it, and I just want to make sure you know the whole story before you go into it. So, that's how I've done things in the past, and it's always worked pretty well for me. So I kind of, that's just kind of the approach I take. But it was an interesting interview, being a group interview and all. The only time I've ever done a group interview like that was when I did my initial interview at Disney. It's kind of understood there because, the turnaround in that place is so much that you have, of 1,000 people going through that department every day. And so you kind of got to, weed out the undesirable ones really quick. And sometimes it's just not cost effective to interview everyone individually on the first time. So I understand it there, but it was an interesting approach. It was more of a discussion than an interview, so there was a lot less pressure. And I don't know, we'll see. it's one of those things that is going to be, it's the first of multiple interviews. As you know, this one started out with that online interview where, I got on camera and basically answered questions from, and then it turned into this one. And then if I make it past this level, then we're going to go to potentially two more interviews with different levels of management. I guess the final one is with like the general manager because he or she, I don't know, wants to have a say in it from at the end of the day. So I'm supposed to hear what happens, yay or nay on this one by the middle of next week. They said 3 to 5 days, and since this was Saturday, they said probably by the end of the day on Wednesday. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. No, we just started this thing, so I haven't really talked about my father. I think I go into detail on tonight's vlog a little bit about what's going on. Um, but basically, he was in the hospital a few days ago. He was really, really lethargic and out of it. And, they think it's his ammonia levels again. And I think what's going on is they just got everything under control, and he's kind of back on the mend. And last I heard, about 2 days ago, they decided they wanted to send him into rehab. He still has a kind of an issue with like fluid building up in his legs, and so they still want him to be monitored a little bit, and maybe trying to squeeze some of the fluid out of his legs. And the advantage of him being in a rehab facility is then they can make sure he's getting his physical therapy on a regular daily basis and continuing to do that. And they can also kind of monitor what's going on. The thing I've kind of always noticed about when he loses control a bit of his focus and his facilities is it always seems to happen at home. It never happens when he's in the hospital. And one big difference between those things is when he's in the hospital, somebody else is monitoring his medication and making sure he's taking things at the right time. And that can be a real complicated thing for my father, especially considering the fact that the doctor is always trying to figure out, exactly how to balance his meds. So the doses are changing and stuff like that. And he's taking certain things certain times. And then the doctor says, no, don't take these. And I think what happens, he sometimes gets a little confused and takes the wrong thing or forgets to take something. And then things get out of control. And then he goes to bed because he doesn't feel good. And then he doesn't take his pills. He doesn't eat. He doesn't exercise. And it just kind of all cascades down from there. So I think what they're doing, my parents are still talking about moving into this assisted living place sometime this month now. Originally, they were talking as early as the 6th, but I think it's maybe a week or two away now. They're planning on moving out like in the middle of the month and moving into the apartment at that point. And they're saying that they don't think my father in his current state would be able to move in, but they think if he stays in the rehab facility until they're ready to make the move, then he'll be in a better stage to move into the apartment. And I think we'll be able to control the meds a little bit better because we can have the staff at the senior home make sure he's taking his pills and taking the right stuff at the right time and kind of keep on tabs with that. So, he's doing well. I haven't talked to him in a few days, but my mom was down visiting him a couple days ago, and I'll probably end up calling him tomorrow or something like that. I was going to try and do it today, but today was a really busy day because I started off with a restaurant blog this morning, and then I went in for the job interview, and I came home and did this. So, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a little easier, hopefully, because I'll just have a vlog to do. So, we'll see. So I rambled for a while, so let me catch up here. John M. asks, what kind of job is it? I don't want to be too specific, but it's in the retail industry. Like I said, there's 99.9% of you are great people, but there's a few trolls out there, and I don't want those trolls pulling a carpetbagger on me. You like the Ballast Point shirt? That's cool. Yeah, we went to a Ballast Point restaurant at downtown Disney once, and my sister bought me this. So, yeah, it's a cool shirt. It's in my kind of regular repertoire. You'll see it from time to time. What age is my dad? My dad is in his lower 80s. Yeah, he's been through a lot. I think a lot of it is just the medication. Because if we can get the medication controlled, then he can continue to improve and things will get better and better. So, but when he has these setbacks, when he doesn't take the medication or takes something wrong, then it's up and down and up and down. If we can get to the point where it's all up, then hopefully he'll be able to get to the point where he builds his strength back up and all that, and that will hopefully be better. The paracentesis or the TIPS procedure he did a while back is starting to kick in a little bit, so that is starting to be a good thing. You still got to have the paracentesis procedure periodically, but it's a lot less frequent now, and that's always a good thing. Anything we can do to keep him out of the hospital because he hates being in the hospital. He's told me more than once that daytime TV sucks, and that's really all there is to do in there. And so he just sits there and binge watches my vlogs, and so I'm glad I could do stuff like that for him. Because I know he enjoys watching them. Thank you, BNA. I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate all the prayers and thoughts. You guys are all great. I love all of you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you're wishing the best for my parents. Like I said, my mom, is pretty stable. It's just my dad that's up and down. I think if we can control his medication, that will, um, I think that will help all around. Which would I prefer in a home, wood or brick? I actually like the brick. The that fourth house that I looked at on the vlog that went up yesterday, I think it was the day before. That was my favorite of the five that day. That was the only one that I thought was a real contender. The fifth one was all right, but it was just an odd shaped house and it didn't have much of a backyard. In fact, I was thinking if I did buy that one, what I would probably do is flip the garage around so that the garage door is in the front, make a new driveway just going up there, and reclaim that side driveway going all the way around the back. And that would increase the size of the yard a lot. But that was just a really odd shaped house. There's a lot of really, really long rooms. And I'm not really into that. So, but that fourth one I looked at, I liked that one. That one I could be happy in. The only thing I saw that needed any work on that was that gazebo. And, that just needs to be sanded and repainted. So, oh, there was a 7.7 earthquake near Jamaica. No, I didn't hear about that one. I knew about the one, what was it, down by Cuba. And that was a big one, but then they downsized it quite a bit. Like I said, yeah, the number four house, that was really the one that I thought was the most of an option. The first time I went house hunting, all of those houses were pretty nice, with the exception, I think, of that second one that had been empty, and it seemed to have a lot of problems with it. But yeah, I've thought about buying a lot and building my own house too. The problem is that would delay me a lot in terms of moving in, because it'd probably take 6 or 8 months to get a house built. Whereas if I buy one that already exists, then I could just do that. But it depends, because I have to do the apartment lease in minimum 6 month increments, and I'd really like to get out of this place in July. So I don't know. It's all going to depend on. Like I said, I got money from the other house sitting in a high interest savings account right now, and some of that money's got to go to taxes. Because I still haven't dealt with that. I'm going to have a huge capital gains from the sale of the house. But I can finally start looking at that now because I actually got my W-2 form from Disney today. So that's really the last thing that I needed before I could start working on that. And I think I'm going to probably talk to Jordan's friend Michael and have him look at my taxes because he's been doing real well for Jordan. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens on that. But I got to talk to him about that because what I especially want to do is I want to keep as much of that money away from California. Because I'm out of California. I don't want to, put any more money into that money pit. You'll be moving to Waco soon. That's cool. Yeah, those first three houses I looked at, they're really nice. They just need a lot of work, and I'm just afraid that it's going to be more money than I have. If there were some of those things that I was confident I could do myself, then it'd be one thing to move into the house and just slowly transform it. But there's so many of those things in there. I think I'd have to contract out, and that's just going to be money. you know. And there's so many of the things that I didn't, that there's a lot of things I do know how to do in a house, but there's enough things that I don't know to do in a house that something like that scares me a little. That one house, that house from 1890, they were only asking $130,000 for that, which would leave me a nice chunk of money to do that. But I still think that there's going to be more to getting that thing up to code than what I would have left over. So, like I said, it's all going to depend on how much I have left over um, after I pay the taxes, because that money's going to come out of the money I made from the house, and then whatever's left over will be for the house. And I was estimating, that I'd probably have about 200, maybe a little bit more to play with. And that's why that was sort of what the upper limit was on the houses I was looking for. But I don't know, it might get to the point where, I might have a little bit more and we'll see what happens. I've heard some people say that you have time to invest in a house. And, who knows, maybe that is an option. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be nice if that was. I've also heard people say it was 6 months. So who knows? Yeah, you're right. I'm very concerned about the ones with the foundation problems. And I saw several foundation problem houses there. That's the concern I run into with some of those older houses is that they've been neglected too long. The problems tend to escalate, and they just kind of it just starts. One thing leads to another, leading to another, leading to another. So, hi Kathy. Yeah, just I've only been on for less than 20 minutes, so yeah, you got on right at the beginning this time. Yeah, when it comes to doing it, I've definitely learned a lot from selling my house and looking at the houses here and actually living in this apartment. That I think I'm going to be really good at looking at these houses and judging whether they're going to be sound and useful for me, and whether they're going to be safe and all that. But I'm still going to probably want to get an expert in to look at all that stuff. But I'm learning so much doing this. So, and you guys are seeing things that I'm not seeing too, which is great because you guys are giving me great comments and things to think about when I'm doing the when I'm starting to look for real. Right now, I'm not looking for real. This is more just curiosity, and because they're kind of fun vlogs. Yeah, I've enjoyed doing the house hunting vlogs too. Um, they're a lot of fun to do, and it's kind of just fun to go out and look, and you guys seem to enjoy them, and and it's doing a lot to help me figure out what the market is. Like I said, none of these houses are probably going to be on the market when I get to the point where I'm ready to look. But once I get a job and I'm comfortable that I'm going to be happy there, then I'm going to start seriously looking, and we're going to go from there. Because it's all going to depend. Where I live is going to depend on where I work, because I don't want to have a long commute if I can avoid it. But probably anywhere I bought in Waco would probably be fine because Waco is a pretty small town. Well, Jordan already did give his address to YouTube, and that was what that was all about. They wanted to send him his $100,000 or his 100,000 subscriber vlog. So that's already happened. So there's not much I can do about that. They've already he's already crossed that bridge. But I mean, when he put up the just the teaser title said that YouTube wanted his address, he's like, oh, I know what that's all about. They want to send him his plaque. Where are the fur babies? One of them's right there. He probably didn't. He probably came in after that, and but yeah, he's always. Well, I mean, YouTube has so much personal information about us anyway. I mean, before I could produce a video that was longer than 20 minutes, they had to have my email address and my phone number and all that stuff. Because apparently there's a huge threat with robots making 20-minute long YouTube videos. So yeah, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, you're right, Nancy. I'm getting within grasping distance of 3,000. That's pretty cool. I never thought, when I started doing this, 8 or 9 months ago, that it would ever get to that. Yeah, it depends on where you live, Jennifer. But yeah, the more you get into like big cities, the the cost of stuff just grows exponentially. I'm paying a little under $1,100 a month for a 2 bedroom, 3 bathroom apartment here, and that's okay. It's what I need to do at this point. If eating too many spicy foods has damaged my taste buds, I did that decades ago, and I do honestly think that that's part of how people become tolerant of really spicy foods because back when I was in my 20s, I was a wimp when it came to spicy foods, but I ate more of it and ate more of it, and it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it anymore. I'm convinced I've burned a significant number of my taste buds off. I just think that's how it works. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if I didn't have the profits from the house, I wouldn't be able to afford that right now either. I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't have that, but fortunately, I had that to fall back on, and I'm making a little bit of money on the YouTube. So, I'm not to the point where I can support myself on that yet, but we're moving in the right direction. So, and I appreciate the new subscribers, and I appreciate all of you who watch every video. That means so much to me. That's great that you love Waco, and I appreciate that you watched my vlog. That means a lot to me. Yeah, when I get to the point where I am doing my own house stuff here, I want to try and do as much of that stuff as I can. And so, yeah, I'll probably learn some more new things, to figure out how to do some of this stuff. A lot of this stuff, though, you can, if you just kind of look at what they've done, if you're taking something apart, it's a lot easier to take something apart and then do it again than it is to try and figure it out initially. And, I learned a lot of things just by doing it. You remember a couple of weeks ago when I replaced that diverter valve in the bathtub upstairs, I had no idea what to expect when I got into that thing, but I just opened it up. It's like, oh, okay, I bet you I could just get another one of these. I went to Home Depot, found it, and it just went in. A lot of this stuff is easier than it looks. Any interest in watching the Super Bowl? No, I don't even know who's playing. Not interested, not going to even look. I don't care. In fact, I'll probably have to, now that you mentioned that, I was talking earlier about maybe calling my dad tomorrow. I'll probably have to figure out when the game is on and not call him then because I'm sure he'll watch it. He hates daytime TV when he's in the rehab or in the hospital. But I'm guaranteeing he'll be watching a football game. Okay, Diane. Yeah, we'll be here for I usually go for 2 hours, and we're 25 minutes into this. So yeah, come back a little later. We'll probably still be here. Yeah, I don't know if I'll even tune in on the Puppy Bowl. When I moved here, I got cable TV, and I think I've had the cable TV on 2 or 3 times since I've been here. And I'm really seriously thinking maybe I'm just at some point just going to cancel that. Because if I don't use it, why should I be paying money for it? It's just a waste of money. I'm doing everything either, it's doing the vlogging is taking up so much of the time now. And if I get a job, then that's going to be competition for that. And what little time I do spend, on streaming stuff or watching DVDs or Blu-rays or stuff like that. So, you know, Monday is Buddy Holly's anniversary of his death. Do you think that you'll do a vlog on Buddy and his hometown, Lubbock? No, not really. I'm not the Buddy Holly fan that Jordan is, and Jordan's definitely going to be the one that does anything Buddy Holly. And I think we did visit his hometown when we came through here, so you ought to go check that out. I know we went to his grave. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've had the cable TV on a couple times, since I've been here. Yeah, I do have a Roku. And actually, it's not a Roku; it's an Amazon Fire Stick. Same thing though. Same thing, different vendor. Even when I used to go to Super Bowl parties years and years ago, you know, part of a few of the group of my friends were really into it. And so they'd host like big elaborate Super Bowl parties that were more like just beer drinking parties. And, uh, and I'd do that. But even then, I was watching more for the commercials. I didn't really care about the game. Like I said a few minutes ago, I don't even know who's playing. So, okay, yeah, you saw Jordan's vlog on Buddy Holly. Yeah, like Jordan, Jordan is this way too. He gets a lot of suggestions for vlogs, and a lot of times he'll just say, "Yeah, I don't want to do that because I'm not interested in it. And if it's not a subject I'm interested in, I'm not going to have the passion for telling it." And it's the same way with me. It's got to be something I'm interested in, and I appreciate his music, but I'm not enough of a fan where I would go out and say, hey, let's go find some place that he played or some place where he was born, or that we did that with Jordan when we came out here because he is a huge fan, and basically anything Buddy Holly, I think I'm going to leave to him just because that's his thing. Yeah, I don't know if I'd save 110 a month, but I bet you I'd save, cutting the cable. I mean, I still use the cable to get my internet, and I have just blindingly fast internet here. I love that. In fact, Jordan even commented on that when he was here, how great my internet was, because when he'd upload his vlogs, he said it was like, normally it takes, 10, 15, 20 minutes for him to do it everywhere else. He says he'd upload something, it'd be uploaded in 2 minutes. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things I got going for me here. We have just a blazingly fast internet, and so I don't want to go with anyone else and risk that. But I would maybe eliminate the cable TV. Yeah, well, that's probably you're right. You and Jordan probably do have the same interests, and that's probably why you're a follower of his. He and I have a lot of similar interests too, and that's why I like to watch him too. And a lot of times, there's things, one of the things I really like him about him as a vlogger is that even if I'm not interested in the subject, he'll you know, it'll be fascinating to listen to him talk about it. You know, I don't really have any interest whatsoever in old Hollywood, but when he does his old Hollywood vlogs, it's like, wow, I learned something about that. I'd never even heard of Mary Pickford before Jordan. Hello, Mr. Thesper. Yeah, we've been going for about 30 minutes, but we'll be here for a while. When it comes to things to look at in Waco, all just do like you do with Jordan. Send a suggestion. I may look at it. I may even kind of make a mental note of it and then forget about it and then stumble on it myself. But Jacob's Ladder, I'd gone by that a couple of times and never knew what it was. And then when I was in the neighborhood looking at Miss Nellie's pretty place, it's like that was right there. And it's like, well, let's go look at it. And it was actually very cool. I was glad I did that. I actually saw a little bit of Jordan's live stream yesterday where he was talking about Kobe. And one of the things he said is that he was a Clippers fan and not really a Lakers fan. So wasn't really that much of a fan of it. He said he might do something at some point, but that he wanted to kind of have fans who were fans cover it. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of in the same boat with him. I'm even less of a sports fan than Jordan is. So I'm not going to really do a whole lot on it. I don't really have anything to say. It's sad when anyone dies, but I'm just as likely to do a vlog on any of the other people on that helicopter that crashed. Yeah, well, Jordan's just got one of those personalities that anyone who kind of meets him just automatically likes him, and that's why he gets access to people like Shelley Winters and his friends in Kiss and Jimmy Kimmel and all the people he's met. It's amazing, just because he's just got a natural talent to be able to walk up to somebody he doesn't know and just strike up a conversation with them. And sometimes I wish I could do that. Yeah, it's sad when anyone dies like that, but you don't have to be a Lakers fan or even a sports fan to be sad when somebody dies like that. It's never cool. He was a talented player. That's really all I'm gonna go. You have anything to add about Kobe? Huh? Nothing to add about Kobe? Meow? That's what you say about everything, though. Yeah, I know, but that's what you say about everything. It's always about meow. It's always a meow. He wants the kitty treats, don't you? That's what it's all about. So some kitty treats your bike here. Surprised we haven't seen Nibble pop her head out yet. Didn't your mom ever tell you not to eat with your mouth open? Okay, that's it for now, or else you'll go away and I won't see you anymore. And everyone loves seeing you. Yeah, you're right. That's the meow is I want a treat. You're absolutely right on there. Yeah, the job interview was I just got back from doing that. I talked about it right at the beginning, but I know a lot of you came in after that, so we'll retell that story. I'm guessing I'll probably say it a couple times, during the live stream, just because people come in and out. Basically, I got back from the interview. It was about a 2 hour long interview. It was actually a group interview, which was kind of interesting. There were 7 of us in the group being interviewed by 2 different managers from 2 different departments. And it was really interesting because you remember this interview started out with the online interview where I actually got on sitting right there here in this chair. I kind of got some nice clothes on because I'm doing a video interview, and did that basically just like I do the live stream here. With this background, I didn't have the lights on, but I had the Texas flag in the background. And what they did is they recorded you answering questions. So they'd give you a written question, and you'd have like 15 or 20 seconds or 30 seconds or something to think about it, and then you had to record up to a 3-minute response to their question. And if you were given a chance to do it one time, given a chance to do it, one time and see what happens. And if you screwed it up, you could try it again. But after that, you had to do it, and that was it. And then they called you. Then I got a couple days later, I got an email saying that I had a second interview. And I went in for that one today, and like I said, it was a group interview. There were 7 of us in there. They're interviewing multiple people for the same job. I think they got multiple positions open. So, we'll see what happens. But it was interesting because a lot of times when you go in for an interview, it's the kind of interview questions they give you is, what would you do under this circumstance? You're working with, you're having a conflict with people and stuff like that. And, how would you deal with that if you had to win consensus on a bunch of people? This one was a little bit different because in this case, it was more like ethical questions. One of the questions they asked specifically was if you were working in a team with people, and one of the people was just kind of kept disappearing and not pulling their end of load, and as a result, your team's production was being hurt by that person not being there. How would you deal with that? And the answer I gave is, well, my approach is I usually like to try and deal with things as much as I can ahead of time, by myself, and see if I can fix it on my own first. And then if I can't, go to the management and see what we can do. So that was my answer to that. And I'm sorry if I keep getting distracted here, but Devin, are you the Devin from Disney? I think you are. I think I may know you. Yeah, there's 2 of you in the world with the same name. Because I think this Devin person that's posted a couple times here. I have a friend. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's Devin. Oh, okay, yeah, he was one of my friends in parades at Disney. That's cool. I saw the name. That's why it kind of seemed like I was babbling in that last question because is that Devin? Is that really Devin? Because I guess I know that a few people, at Disney know that I'm doing this. So I guess I figured it wouldn't really surprise me that much that if somebody would eventually stumble on here or start watching. But that's a trip. Did parades ever start going again at Disney, or are they're still doing nothing? That was the reason I left. Yeah, that's what I thought because Dave Johnson knows about the channel. I think he's even a follower. In fact, I think I heard him tell me even because I was doing it a little bit then. Well, actually, a friend of mine was doing it. My friend Jordan was doing it, and Dave's son was watching Jordan's vlog and kind of and started doing his own vlog as a result. Okay, so you quit. Yeah, so you were smart too. You also escaped the mouse. Congratulations. What are you doing now? You find something else, or are you still like me, still hunting? And you're saying that the video interviews can be difficult because it's strange not being able to gauge the person. I kept thinking that this was oddly familiar for me because doing these online things like this, it's just like doing a live stream. I'm literally talking to myself right now, and just reading comments on here. So it's very similar to what I'm doing, with the live streams and with the vlogging. So that was, in fact, when I was talking to some of the guys that I was interviewing that were interviewing along with me today, they were saying that they thought that was really hard. And I'm trying to make sure that I keep my vlogging world and my private job separate. So I didn't even really want to mention that I'm doing any vlogging because I want those two things to be separate. So I really was kind of biting my tongue to say, oh yeah, well I'm doing live streams on a regular basis, and so I'm a little bit more comfortable with that. Have I been to the Mammoth Cave site? No, the only cave I've been to was the one I did a few months ago. What was it? The Inner Space Caverns, and that was up a little north of or a little south of Temple. In fact, when Jordan and I went to um, Austin, it surprised me how close it was to Austin. It didn't seem like I'd gone that far. That's true. I can't hit the delete button on an interview, but they do give you the chance if you kind of blew it. They'll give you another shot to shoot it again. Now, some people said, they say in the interview that if you do that, that they'll still see it, but they say that they didn't. So I don't know. Fortunately, I only had to record one or two, um, and after that, I kind of and what they did at the beginning actually, they gave you an option to do practice uh, recordings, and I don't, and they said they didn't watch those either, but who knows? And so I did a couple of the practice questions first just to kind of get the feel for what it was I wanted to do. And then I got into the real interviews. And like I said, each time they'd give you two chances to record it. And they'd ask you the question, and then you'd have 30 seconds to think about it, and then they'd start recording. And if you didn't like the response that you gave, then you have a chance to do it again. And the advantage of doing it again is then you could take as much time as you want to think about it before you actually re-recorded it again. Now, usually the problem I ran into is I stumbled over my tongue a little bit when I was talking. So I knew kind of what I wanted to say, but um, didn't come out as eloquently as I wanted. So when I do it the second time, it'd be a little bit smoother. And how are my mom and dad? Well, my mom has been stable for a long time. She just needs her help, and fortunately, she's got a a woman who comes in several days a week to help her with do things like the laundry and some house cleaning and stuff like that. And so she's basically independent. And I think the biggest problem she runs into is occasionally she goes into a room and can't get out because she can't figure out how to get her walker angled in the right way. Her sense of direction and things going backwards have always been kind of an issue. It's just not one of her strong suits. Have I ever been to the Texas Ranger Museum? Yes, I did a vlog on that. There was actually a two part vlog I did probably 4 or 5 months ago. You got to check it out. So it's getting a little dry here. Devin will remember when I used to train at Disney, I'd get to the end of the day and my voice was all hoarse because I talked so much. And everyone knew out there I don't talk a whole lot. I'm kind of an introvert, but I always had a lot to say when I do like training and stuff like that. And I'd get to the end of the day and my voice would be just thrashed because I talk so much. Yeah, I was back there. I remember it was really hot, so it was back before October. Dullest place in Texas so far. I assume that's a question because it ends with a question mark. Um, I don't know. I haven't really seen anything that I find is dull. There's a few annoying things, but maybe because maybe I just like it dull. Maybe people always seem to like what they don't have. It's that whole grass is greener thing. Jordan grew up in a small town in Ohio and couldn't wait to get away from that and come to Hollywood. I grew up around LA my whole life, and I just kind of crave the I kind of crave the slower life. I really like Waco a lot. Waco is a beautiful place. I like the people. I like the vibe. It's just a whole different place. I don't seem like a coffee drinker like Jordan. No, you're right. I've had 2 cups of coffee uh, in my life, and I wasn't really a fan of either of them. And I'm guessing it's probably just like beer. If I got to the point where I had good coffee, I'd probably like it. But at this point, I got to the point where I don't need a $5 a hit habit, and since caffeine doesn't really work, um, I just it doesn't work on me. It actually has the opposite effect. Caffeine tends to put me to sleep, and so um, you know I never got into it. In fact, I discontinued drinking almost all caffeine about 3 years ago. Devin can attest to that. I used to always have a Coke in my hand, and at the end after that, it was always a Sprite. Yeah, my parents are supposedly moving into a new place. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I know I talked to my mom a couple days ago, and she said that that the movers were supposed to move like on the 15th or something, and so it probably won't be long after that they move into the place. Um, and that we'll go from there. I'm guessing my father's going to stay in the rehab place until he's ready to to get out of that place and move into the apartment. Yeah, I used to drink all sorts of caffeine, and it really blew me away because it never really seemed to help me. And I drink more and more of it, and I just wondered at one point if I was drinking too much of it, and and then I started realizing, a lot of times, I'll drink like I'd go to like 7-Eleven and buy a big gulp or something like that, and I'd drink it, and 30 minutes later I'd go to sleep. I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. That's not how it's supposed to be. Everyone always says that when you drink caffeine, they're like bouncing off the walls. It's like that never happens to me. So how about Crawford? I've been to Crawford. I found somebody in town that actually knew where George Bush's ranch was, and I actually went to the ranch. That's cool. I'm glad you like the JFK vlogs. I'm proud of those. Those are I think there's a few vlogs that I've done that I've been very very proud of, and that's one of them. I still am amazed some of the things I found on that one. The fact that I got to sit in Lee Harvey Oswald's jail cell, that just that was the highlight of the whole trip. The whole rest of the vlog could have been garbage, and that would have been still a highlight for me. And I got to see so many other great things. And it was just one of those things that when I started researching it, it just unpeeled like an onion. It's like this led to that, which led to the other thing. It's like, wow, there's so much here, and I've never seen any of this stuff. I've never seen people do documentaries that retrace the steps and all that. I got to do all that. Yeah, yeah, and the fact that it wasn't exclusive in that cell, and I mean, not only an exclusive, but the guy actually let me in there and then walked off and did something else. So I got just basically like a minute or two of private time in that cell that he was in, and there wasn't anybody else there. That was just amazing that I got to do that. And after they open up that museum, nobody's ever going to be able to do that, or very few people will, because they'll only be able to look at it from behind a glass window. The fact that I just, and that's something I learned from Jordan. You just sometimes you just got to walk in and ask. It never would have dawned on me to do that before I watched Jordan do a bunch um, of his vlogs. But I've just seen him pull that off too many times that I said, well, I'm going to go and see what happens. What's the worst they can do? Say no? Yeah, if I was going to go to Marfa, I'd be more interested in the Marfa lights. Like I said, James Dean, that's another one of those things that you'll have to get from Jordan. I haven't actually been back to the donut shop where got the bear claws, but now that I know where to go, um, I would now I can get it now when I get that craving again. The beef stew turned out really good. I was very, very pleased with it. I think what happened with the because I told you how the instant pot wasn't working that well, or didn't seem to work right for me. And the more I think about it, I kind of think that maybe it was just operator error. I think I did something wrong because a night or two afterwards, I steamed some vegetables in there, and that worked perfectly. So yeah, I would love to go see the Northern Lights too. That would be very, very cool. I've seen them a little bit. I was in northern Minnesota once, and I was driving up north with my uncle because he has a cabin up in northern Minnesota, and it was like late at night, and I kept seeing flashes in the sky. I couldn't figure out what it was because like we were out in the middle of nowhere, and and then when we finally got to the location, I got out and sat out on a dock out on the middle of the lake. And I was looking up at the sky and was like, that's got to be the Northern Lights. I mean, we are pretty far north here. So, but I mean, it's never been. I've never seen the streamers like people say that they, when you see those really brilliant pictures of it. So I would love to see that. Hey, Epic Paul's in the house. Hey, Paul, how you doing, buddy? Your friend has a recipe or for hamburger soup. Is that done in the instant pot? I might be interested in that. Yeah, no, I there were no peas in the stew. That would probably be good though. I gotta agree, that wouldn't be a bad thing. Yeah, you're right. Jordan did do a giant vlog. I remember seeing that too. When it comes to stuff like that, Jordan does the things he's into, and I do the things I'm into, and that's one of the greatest compliments he's given me is that he likes watching my vlogs because they're just so different from anything else he's seen. So that's really cool to hear stuff like that. And I like watching his too because I learned so much from him. But we are definitely different people and have different interests. And there's things I'm going to do. I could totally see myself traveling around the country and like visiting national parks. And I know Jordan isn't really interested in that. He said that to me. So you're probably not going to see Yellowstone or you know Yosemite or any of that kind of stuff on a Jordan vlog. But at some point in the future, you might see that on one of mine. Because when I was a kid, my parents and I took, my parents, my sister and I took family vacations every year, and we'd always go to the national parks. So I've been to so many of them. And as kind of the geology nerd that I am, it wouldn't be just going to them, but it would be describing, how this all came to be, and all that would be so much fun. Yeah, I'll definitely do a roast of some kind. That was actually one of the reasons I picked the largest instant pot I could get, because they got the 4 quart and the 6 quart and the 8 quart, and I got the 10 quart. Usually you get the 10 quart pot because you want to feed a family of 20 or something like that. But I intentionally got the big ones so I could do things like roasts and stuff like that. And I've heard you can even cook like a Thanksgiving turkey in those things. So I don't know. We might. I'll definitely do something like that at some point. Yeah, I can't wait to do the DIY vlogs on the new house. That'll be a lot of great content. Do I have a favorite national park? I would have to say it was Yellowstone because Old Faithful is amazing. That's just geology, incarnate. Because that whole park, all of the hot springs and all the bubbling lava pools and stuff like that. That's because it's all on a giant volcano, and and the idea, and that's not just a giant volcano. That's something they call a super volcano. One of those things when it erupts, that changes the Earth's climate when those things go off. So yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. The cat makes his appearance from time to time. He just pops in and out whenever he decides he needs needs more kitty treats. That's what it's all about, right? You don't care about this. You don't care about me. You just want the kitty treats, don't you? That's all it's about, right? Now, if we could just train your sister to come down here, everyone would like to see her too. I almost wonder if it's like a bullying situation, where he knows that if he's down here, he gets the treats, and he doesn't let Nibble come down, so there's no competition. Yeah, if you get a chance to go see Yellowstone, you should. It's a must see. And I've been to the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's great. Um, I've been to Yosemite a whole bunch of times. That's really fun from a geology standpoint because that's all cut out from a glacier that ran through Yosemite Valley. What 100, 200,000 years ago. Yeah, definitely. If you can find a hamburger soup recipe, definitely send to me. I'd like to look at it. Can't guarantee I'll cook it because it's always an issue of, one, is it something I think I can do? Do I have the materials to do it? Is it something when I look at the recipe and think that, it looks good? Because sometimes I get recipes and say, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really into that. And sometimes I don't know what to expect. There were a few of them that I tried just to see what it was, and you never know. Yeah, I've never been a corn or big corned beef person, but I got to admit I haven't really done it a lot either. So, but it might be one of those things that I might try just to see. Especially if I get somebody coming standing behind it and say, "Yeah, this is a good recipe. You ought to try this." And I've been doing a lot of the instant pot recipes lately. So, if you got something that's specifically for that, I'd love to try that. Because what I'm doing right now, I'm not getting a lot of instant pot recipes. I'm just pulling them out of those cookbooks I have. Ever had pierogi casserole? I don't even know what that is, so I would have to answer no, I haven't. I don't even know if I pronounced that. Is it pierogi? I probably slaughtered that. Oh yeah, you know all the people who say that they make the mistake of watching my vlogs before they go to bed, and then they're always hungry. Yeah, that's just one of those things you're going to have to get used to. No, no, I'm pronouncing it wrong, or no, I slaughtered it. Oh, your cat's looking at my cat. All right, well here's a little kitty porn for you. I probably shouldn't have said it that way, right? It's kitty, not kitty. I want YouTube to demonetize this because they think it's something else. You watch early in the morning. Well, that's probably good advice, because then at least if you see something that makes you hungry, you get an opportunity. It's like, okay, well, that's what we're having for dinner, or that's what we're having for lunch. Kurtuji? Is that? I still don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Hello, Arkansas. Welcome to the group. Wow, we had a lot of people in here so far today. It's been, more than 100. That's pretty cool. I'm usually pretty happy if I get 60 or 70, but I saw at one point we were over 100. We're at 96 now. That's still pretty good. It's been a while since I've done one of these live streams later in the afternoon. Lately, I've been kind of doing them earlier in the day. Just okay, so I'm getting close. Pertugi. I'm getting all sorts of pronunciations here. Okay, I'm seeing two of them that kind of look like the same here. Pierogi. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is, I don't know how to pronounce it, and I've never had it. So pierogi with a hard G. Pierogi, is that it? To to train like some salesperson on how to say Isuzu, and the guy could kept slaughtering. It was this Japanese guy trying to talk to a white guy and get him to explain how to get him to learn how to say Isuzu, and the guy keeps mangling it every time. And at the end, the Japanese guy says, "That's okay, Hal. I can't say Chevrolet." Do you know how to pronounce that word? Huh? Do you know how to pronounce that word? What do you think? How do you pronounce that word? No, I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced meow. That doesn't look like anything that anyone's been writing. Yeah, send me the recipe. I'll definitely look at it. I may mangle it when I try and say what I'm making, but it'll be a good joke. If it looks good, I'll try it. There he is. More kitty treats. Is that what it is? That's what it's all about, isn't it? Surprised we haven't seen your sister yet. You lunge at it like that, you're gonna end up dropping it. Hi, Brenda. Yeah, just arrived. What did I miss? About an hour and 6 minutes of conversation. Yeah, you always have to go scroll up and see what we talked about. Basically, just what we talk about on all these things, whatever you guys want to talk about. If I tried Texas Lone Star beer, I have. It's all right. It's not something I'd go. It's not something I'd probably be one of my go-to beers. I like what I like, and I kind of know the kinds of beers that I like. But it was all right. I've had it. It's okay. Yeah, I had a job interview. Came back from it just right before I started the live stream, and yeah, it was an interesting interview. It was a group interview. There were two managers in there and seven of us, and it was a bunch of like just kind of ethical questions, which was really weird. It started off with introduce yourself. The shift, it's a night shift type job, and so they wanted us to explain what kind of jobs we've done in the night shift, if we've worked the night shift before, and what kind of job it was. And when I was at Disney, I would, when the parades would be down or something like that, the department would loan us to tech services, and so I'd do like overnight rehearsals there, or overnight shifts, helping them put Christmas lights on Small World and stuff like that. So I had a lot of experience doing overnight shifts, and and they wanted to know, what is it that made me want to work for this company, and what I like about the company, and all sorts of stuff like that. And then they started getting into these interesting, like, ethical questions. See, a lot of times when I've been in interviews in the past, um, the questions are, how would you deal with, you know, if you're working in a team and you need to get a whole bunch of people kind of working in the same direction, or you need to convince people to see your side of things, how would you deal with that? That's always been the kind of questions I seem to get. And those are the ones. That's actually what I kind of prepared for today to be able to answer. But it was a lot of questions like, you know, if you if you were working in a team and one of the team members kept going off and not pulling their load, their share of the work, what would you do? Or if this kind of a problem happened and you saw an employee stealing or something like that, what would you do about it? And it was those kind of ethical questions, which was kind of interesting. And it wasn't even really a one-on-one kind of thing, because what they do is the manager would ask the question, and then we'd all just kind of participate in the conversation, and we kind of bounce off of each other's ideas and go from there. So it was an interesting interview. This was the second interview I've done with them, because the first one, as you recall from the video I did recently, was an interview where I actually got in front of the camera like I'm doing right now and answered some questions there. And then when we get to the point where, if I make the cut on this time, then they're supposed to contact me in 3 to 5 days. They said probably by the middle of next week. They said probably by the end of the day on Wednesday, I'd probably get a contact from them if there's another interview. And then I go in there, take an interview with that person. And if I make it through that interview, then I have an interview with the general manager, and then I get hired. So I don't know. We'll see. Are you talking from a tap? I don't understand that question. Well, I think the point of the questions was just to kind of, like I said, it was an ethical dilemma kind of thing. How would you deal with this? And they kind of wanted to see us. It sounded like they kind of wanted to see us kind of brainstorming together to work on a solution because they wouldn't ask the question to anyone. They just posed the question to a group. I thought that made it a lot easier and was a lot less pressure because when it was just kind of a group setting, we just kind of bounced off of each other and somebody would say something and then somebody else would add to it and I'd add to that and then somebody else would add to it and we just I thought it was a really good way. I think that at some point they're going to want to do one-on-one interviews though because you got to know individually because you could kind of BS your way through this if you wanted, if you were so inclined, because you could just wait for everyone else to talk and say, yeah, I agree with them. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate the best wishes, and I'm glad you like my videos. Glad you watch them. That means a lot. I've had Molson. I'm not really a Molson fan. Actually, I got a bottle of here. There's something I discovered just recently, and I got actually an empty bottle over here. I'll show you. This is made by the company New Belgium, if you had them. And I really like this stuff. This is a really good IPA. I discovered it just after I moved here. And apparently, I thought it was just something local, but what ended up happening is it just happened, I guess, be released at about the time that I moved here. Because it was funny when I was back. I told you when I was in California over Thanksgiving, I went to that White Elephant Christmas party with one of my friends. Um, well, one of those friends saw that I brought a couple 6 packs of this stuff, and he was amazed because he said, "Oh man, I found some of that once. I liked it, and I've never been able to find it again." And so he was really excited that I brought it because now it's available, and so I guess he went and looked at it. Must be an American brand. Yeah, I think it is. See, I mean, New Belgium. I mean, it sounds like it's Belgium, but it isn't. That's just the name of the company. See if I can figure out where it's brewed here. Yeah, brewed in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Asheville, North Carolina. So yeah, but it's good. I'm a real IPA fan. I like a real hoppy beer, and that's just really got an amazing flavor. Oh yeah, that coronavirus is in uh, in China is really scary. But we hit one of these every once in a while, and that's sort of the problem you run into with when you live in an interconnected world. When you have a disease that can we get people flying from all over the world. It's easy for it to break out, and when you don't have a vaccine for it, hopefully at some point we'll come up with a vaccine, but who knows? It's scary, because there's people that are dying from it. It's really bad in China, and a lot of countries are like literally isolating China right now to try and contain that. Yeah, I've heard there's like 5 or 6 people in the U.S. It was like I just heard, I think this morning that there's a new one like in Chicago or something. But it all seems to be traced back to like people that are coming here from China. I hear right now there's like a cruise ship that's like everyone on board is quarantined for 2 weeks until they figure out what's going on. Yeah, yeah, it's bad. You just heard eight people in America now. It's possible. Usually when those things when it starts happening, it cascades. Yeah, I've heard the Bill Gates thing too. I don't know if that's the case. It just seems like a little out of his expertise. Yeah, I'm gonna design a software package, and oh, by the way, I'm gonna own a virus too. I don't know. Eighth case, and okay, I think maybe it was Boston I heard, but I thought it was the sixth case. But who knows? It might have been that I just heard there's another case, not necessarily a sixth case. I might just be incrementing the number because the last I heard was five. It's scary though, those are the things that can kind of cascade on you, and all of a sudden it's a bigger problem. Yeah, oh yeah. A lot of places are doing travel advisories. Well, it sounds like we need to have a travel advisory from China. Limits is like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't come in now until we get this under control. Because unfortunately, a lot of different countries, they don't have the medical facilities or the ability to, control this kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Being a recluse might be the way to be. It depends on how it's transferred. I don't know, how it transfers from one person to another. So, but I'm guessing we're all going to hear a lot about it. I guess it's airborne because a lot of people think you can wear the masks and protect yourself. But I've heard a lot of questions both ways whether how effective the masks actually are. Yeah, I'm surprised how many things I find too. Yeah, you know, that whole Doris Miller story, it all kind of cascaded about a week or two ago, because about the same time, I started seeing a bunch of comments on my videos talking about Doris Miller and if I was going to do something on him. And there's a couple of Waco history Facebook pages I follow, and they were talking a lot about it. And and then I started seeing it on the internet, just on news sites and just on Facebook in general. It's like, well, this has got to, I got to look into this. And then when I started reading up on the story, it was really interesting because I started thinking this reminds me. There's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character in the movie Pearl Harbor reminded me of that. And when I was reading up on his story about, how he was working below deck when his vessel was hit in Pearl Harbor, and then he went up and cared for the captain who was mortally wounded, and then grabbed a gun that he wasn't even never been trained to fire, and started taking out Japanese Zeros. Like that reminds me of that scene from Pearl Harbor, and I actually watched that a couple nights ago. And yeah, it is specifically him. The IMDb refers to him as Doris Miller and or Dory, and he's whatever Private Miller. They call him by name in the movie. So yeah, it's definitely him. So it's interesting, that you find out that he was born here. In fact, I might have to dig into it more and try and figure out, if I can figure out where he was born, because he was born here in town. And a lot of the houses are old. His house may still exist. I know there's a lot of, the town has really embraced the guy, because that park I went into where the statue was, that's Doris Miller Park. And of course, they got the Doris Miller statue, and there's a Doris Miller Drive, and a Doris Miller YWCA place, and a Doris Miller um, business complex, and even a Doris Miller VA hospital. This VA hospital, I've been driving back and forth in front of a whole bunch of times. Yeah, that's named for him. I drove by it just yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, it is named for him. That's a trip. Yeah, I got a copy of Memphis Belle too. It's one of those that I pull out every once in a while. I don't know. I think the movie kind of drags a little bit, but then again, it's the same thing with Pearl Harbor. That movie is paced like, oh man, it takes an hour and a half to get to the point where anything's happening in that movie. No, I don't have an Escaping the Mouse Facebook page. I just have my Breck Rollo one, and I'm not nothing personal. I've had a couple people recently try and become Facebook friends, and I'm really trying to keep the Facebook page separated from the vlog. So it's nothing personal. But anyone asks to become a Facebook friend, I'm not going to do that, just because I need to have the ability to share stuff with friends and family that I don't necessarily want the whole world to have. I have suggested that if somebody wanted to set up an Escaping the Mouse Facebook page like Jordan's page, I would become a member of it. I'm not really interested in moderating that, being a part of that. But I've seen Terminator Dark Fate. Is that I think so. Is that the one where they come back in time, and Sarah Connor meets or the new Sarah Connor meets the old Terminator? And yeah, I think if that's the one, yeah, I have seen that. I've seen it once. I want to get it in my collection. But yeah, that was a pretty good movie. It was an interesting take. How they redid so many of the things, because they bring the Terminator back earlier, and so the the Terminator from the original movie meets old Schwarzenegger from who went back years earlier. And yeah, it was a good movie. Interesting twist. Yeah, I'm glad you guys understand that. It's nothing personal. It's just like I said, I for the most part, when I left Disney, I dropped about half of my Facebook friends, because a lot of them were Disney people, and they were just people I became Facebook friends with because I worked with them, and I kind of you know filtered all that out later on, because I was like, there were a few people I wanted to remain friends with, and then I just decided, I need to have that place separate and private. So I made most of those statements I make private, so they just go to friends and family, and had to delete a bunch of people who I only knew from the vlog. It's nothing personal, but it was a decision I had to make. Like I said, if somebody wants to do an Escaping the Mouse Facebook page, I'll join it, and I'll put content on it and all that fun stuff. But I gotta kind of keep my private life a little private. before I started doing any of this, everything I posted was public, and yeah, I don't know if there's a Tim's Horton. What is that? Is that a restaurant? I don't know. That's the reason I bring the phone here is I can look up things like that. Doesn't look like a restaurant, so yeah, I guess it does look like it's a restaurant of some kind, but it's Tim Hortons, not Tim's Horton. Is it a donut place? Is that what I'm seeing? Donut and coffee? I don't know. That might be interesting. Have to look that up too. No Tim. Okay, someone says no Tim Hortons on in Texas. That's okay. There's a lot of things in Texas that you don't have elsewhere. So, like, you don't have a Waco anywhere else, right? And how many of you have a great Dory Miller statue in your town? Not a whole lot, I'm guessing. Okay, here's the story. Tim Horton was a hockey player who started a coffee and donut shop. Sounds like a good thing to do. Yeah, you get to the point where you can't play hockey anymore, and you retire and you got to do something. So that sounds like a good option. I haven't been a full year yet here in Waco, but I think the thing I'm looking forward most is the spring because I love it when it rains, and it supposedly rains a lot uh, in Texas in the spring. At least that's what I've been told by the people who live here, and so I look forward to that. But I love the fact that it rains a lot here. That's one of the definite things I like about Texas. I am learning, however, that I maybe should have moved a little bit further north. It seems a lot of the storms, uh, you know, don't really build up the strength, at least not so far until they get up around Dallas or north of that. But the problem you run into when you move too far north is then you start getting more into Tornado Alley. So it's that balance, and you gotta find and keep that balance. Yeah, I'm that way too, Laura. I love a great storm. There's nothing more soothing in the world than a good rainstorm. Yeah, yeah, Sammy Chicken. One of the things that house I looked at when I the oldest one, that 1890s house, so it was 130 years old. They were saying that like the sheriff of Waco used to live in that house like 100 years ago. And so, yeah, it would be very, very cool to have a house that had some real history in it. And I'll definitely want to look that up if I do buy, one of the houses closer to downtown because that would be fun to, actually have a house that one either doesn't need a lot of work or is something I could do, and two, had some great history in it, you know, because there's a lot of great things I could do, but that one house, that 130-year-old house, it was in bad shape. It was in rush shape. I showed you a couple pictures from inside, and if you look at that picture from the bedroom, I don't know if you picked it up real quick, real easily, but um, it's clear that there was some leaks through the wall because the drywall was stained. And so, what you're looking there then is, ripping the whole drywall off, figuring out how to make it waterproof, and then replacing the drywall. And I mean, I guess if you're going to do that, that's the way you'd want to do it because, um, it's a because then you put modern fixtures in it. Get electricity properly plumbed through the place, get the plumbing through there. Doing that correctly. But it was a cool place, and if I had the money to put into it, that would be a blast to rebuild. But yeah, you're right. That would be a house for the Gaineses. But it was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I could easily at least make the outside look nice. I was a little concerned about that balcony. It looked like it was, having some problems, and see, a lot of those structural problems that becomes a huge, huge, expensive problem. Yeah, well, that 130-year-old house I was looking at, they were asking 130 for it, 136 or something. So that would leave a lot of money, but I still think it's more money than I would have to put into it. Oh, you're right. It is a leap year. I didn't think about that. Yeah, but anytime it's a multiple of four, yeah, it's a leap year. Yeah, you're right, John. I've seen enough of those home improvement shows where they buy some ancient house and they think, okay, well, this is what we got to do to fix it, and then they get into it. It's like, oh yeah, you also got to do replace the foundation, and this load bearing wall is collapsing, and oh yeah, the electrical is completely shot, and you got to replace that. So yeah, that's the whole issue. You really got to go into things like that saying it's a complete gut inside, and be prepared to do that. But like I said, if it's a $136,000 house, which I think that one was, that still leaves a lot of money to invest in upgrades, but I still don't think it would be enough. Well, you're maybe a little late, but we're going to be here for a while, so no biggie. People are popping in and out all the time. That's the point of going for 2 hours. Give everyone a chance to get in here a little. That's one of those things I'm looking though, Sue, because if you got a dog that's just barking constantly, that's going to get on your nerves very quickly. We're in this apartment. There's supposed to be a 20-pound limit on your pets, and this dude here just barely makes that, doesn't he? And somebody here has a dog that's clearly twice that size, and I don't know why they're even allowed to stay here. Um, but somebody talks loud or something at night, and all of a sudden that dog is just barking like crazy, and you know just not into that. I'm a real light sleeper. I'm having issues enough already with the neighbors behind me. Before I went to my interview today, I wanted to just take a little bit of nap, but I couldn't because there was so much noise happening in the next apartment. That's one of the biggest things I'm looking for. in terms of looking forward to in terms of getting my own place is not sharing walls with people. Yeah, well, taxes, but if I get to the point where I buy a house outright, I won't have a mortgage. So, that'll simplify things a lot. You can deal with that. Yeah, I tried buying like a dog whistle to when there used to be a neighbor next door to me in California that had a dog that would bark at everything. I actually had two dogs, and one of them would get set off, and then the other one would go and I tried buying a dog whistle and it didn't do a whole lot of good. And I think they tried to fight it a little bit. They bought one of those little devices that's supposed to emit an ultrasonic sound when the dog barks. But it seemed like the device they got was designed more for big dogs and it needed the low frequency barks. And these were a couple little tiny dogs and it never seemed to work. Yeah, I've heard that property taxes are twice California's, but housing prices are a third California, so I'm still going to come out ahead. Yeah, no, I've never heard Jaw bark. He whimpers a lot when he doesn't get his way. There is no state income tax. That was one of the things that attracted me here. And see, that's why you have the higher property taxes. Is the state's got to have some income. There's got to be income from someplace. And if you don't have an income tax, then you have to get the money from somewhere. Yeah, if I get a dog, I want to have a big dog. You know, Jaw's the only little dog I've ever seen that I would ever want to have as a dog. But that's he's rare, and there aren't many like him. He's one of a kind. I'm not trying to say Jaw is spoiled. I'm going to say it outright. He is spoiled rotten. Yeah, I like going through the parks. It's fun to see that. In different seasons too. So I like going back at different times. There's that arboretum that I visited, right around Halloween that I probably want to visit again because I bet you that place is going to start popping with flowers pretty soon. Yeah, can you believe at the time Jordan got Jaw, he was trying to talk me into adopting Jaw's sister? No, spoiled rotten. Sorry, Kathy, got to disagree with you. He's spoiled rotten, no doubt about it. That may be adorable, but he's spoiled rotten. No question about it. You think if I get a dog, do you think they'll be spoiled rotten like you are? Huh? Is that what you think? I'm sure you do. What would you think of a dog? You know, it'd have to be a big dog, right? Don't want a dog that I have to worry about stepping on. Why didn't I? Because at the time I had a very negative opinion about little dogs. Jaw changed that, but I didn't want a little dog. If I'm going to even today, if I'm going to get a dog, I'm probably going to get a big dog. I've had big dogs all my life, so yeah, agreed. I had a first dog I had when I was a kid was a collie shepherd. She was beautiful, and then we got a Labrador, a golden lab shepherd. He was a great dog, and then after that, a black lab shepherd mix. He was a great dog too. That was the last dog I've had though, except for the times I babysat Jaw. And I do admit that babysitting Jaw though has made me think seriously about getting another dog. But like I said, it'll probably be a big dog and a shelter dog because that's just kind of how I do things, right? That's how you guys came into being, right? Somebody just abandoned you in my backyard. I was crazy enough to say, "Okay, you can stay here." Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's not a dog unless it's over 50 pounds. Yeah, you're right. Little dogs tend to be noisier and more mischievous. They're also more hyperactive sometimes. I mean, like I said, Jaw's the exception. The cats never really got along well with Jaw, but I think it's just a matter of time. I think if they, just had to spend more time with them, because it's better now than it used to be. Um, because it used to be that the second Jaw showed up, the cats would run upstairs and you wouldn't see them until Jaw left. And lately, even when Jordan was here a few weeks ago, the cats would come down and Jaw would be on Jordan's lap, and the cats would come up and hang out with me, or Jaw would be on my lap, and the cats would even try and give a little attention to Jordan, which is really odd for them. They usually don't want anything to do with strangers. Have I been to the dinosaur park in Glen Rose yet? No, I haven't. Is there a dinosaur park in Glen Rose? I have to start with figuring out where Glen Rose is. About 100 miles from here, about 50 miles, 60 miles from here, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Dinosaur Park would be fun. I enjoyed very much the Mammoth Museum that I visited early on when I moved here. That was a lot of fun. That's cool that something like that lives here or lived here. Because that was really fascinating. They think that a whole herd of mammoths, including some other animals from the time, uh, all died at once. I think it was some sort of a catastrophe, and they found all these carcasses all at once, probably like a flood or something that wiped them all out. I don't know if you can hear the dogs barking right now. I think you just had a little earthquake in California. That's possible. That happens a lot. See if I can get you an answer to that. I still watch that on a daily basis. I don't know where you live in California, but there have been a few earthquakes in the last hour or so. Nothing really substantial. So I don't know. I still notice. You remember I did that earthquake vlog a few months ago? I still look at that fault every day, and there's still like 300 earthquake aftershocks every week on that location. Probably will be for years to come. Yeah, rescue dogs have always been good dogs. With exception of the first dog we ever got, which we got because a friend of ours' dog had a puppies. Every dog we've had since then was a rescue dog. In fact, the second dog we had, the golden retriever shepherd mix, um, he actually sort of adopted us. He was a stray, ended up on our front porch one day, and we called the pound, and they came and picked him up, and they kept him for a few days, and we adopted him. So okay, yeah, I hope you feel better, Dandelion. I understand how that is. It can be a problem kind of sitting around for a long time. We got a little bit more to go on this. I don't have any pinched nerves or back problems, but we'll go for a little while longer yet. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, definitely keep blogging. I got two more already recorded and uploaded, and a third one that I shot today, another restaurant vlog. So yeah, there'll be something for a while. I don't see any reason why that's going to change. I'll keep them coming. When am I doing the next cooking vlog? I don't know. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. I don't usually plan that much ahead. It's usually one of those things is like I get up in the morning and say, yeah, I think I'm going to do a cooking vlog today. It's interesting. I got a recipe from a cousin of mine a day or two ago that was very simple and very interesting. So I'll have to see how that looks. Okay, Kathy's saying 3.7 near Anzo. So let's see if I can. I see a 2.1 near Anzo, but sometimes it takes a little while for these to catch up. Oh yeah, looks like you're having a little bit of activity there. Oh yeah, okay, I see the 3.7 now. Happened, looks like it happened about 8 minutes ago. No, actually, sorry, about 6 minutes ago. My math sucks. Nice little boomer. Those are always fun. Doesn't look like a big enough thing to cause any serious problems, but does make things interesting. Gotta love the San Andreas Fault. Retrievers of any color are great dogs. Yeah, I've had two of them. They're the friendliest dogs in the world. Yeah, you know what these guys used to do when they were younger? They don't do it anymore. They would literally eat the toilet paper. I'd come home and they'd like taken chunks out of it. What site am I looking at? I am looking at the USGS website. I'm looking at it upside down right now. I think if you just start with earthquakes.usgs.gov and then go from there. I mean, this thing doesn't really work very well on a cell phone. It's more designed for computers, but yeah, you can see the earthquake right there. Looks like there's been about 3 of them in the last couple hours in the area. Actually, looks like there's been more than that. Looks like they've been kind of a building for the last few days. That can always be interesting. When you have a bunch of foreshocks on an earthquake, you know that can be interesting. You know that they say that there's about a 5% chance that a moderate sized earthquake can be an actual precursor to a bigger one. So I don't know. Amso is close enough to where my parents live that they might have actually felt that. 3%, 3.7 is a decent sized quake. Well, yeah, you may not get a whole bunch of earthquakes in Canada, but if you're on the west coast, you have I think it's the Juan de Fuca plate that's right offshore there. That's kind of partially attached to the San Andreas fault, and that's a subduction fault. So that could produce a pretty good size earthquake. You don't generally get them that far. You don't get them very far inland. The more east you move, you kind of move away from them. But the thing with those subduction faults is that they can produce tsunamis when they're in the ocean, and that one is. Yeah, earthquakes scare me too. That was actually one of the reasons why I left California. Is we don't have very many earthquakes here, and when they are, they're tiny, and they're generally not seismic. They're more caused from oil production or stuff like that, and that's more on the west side of the state anyway. You remember the '64 earthquake in Alaska? Yeah, that was, from what I hear, that was like one of the largest earthquakes ever measured. That one was massive. San Andreas Fault basically is runs all the way down the west coast. Even Central and South America. It turns into more of a subduction fault when you get into South America, which is why, like when Chile has earthquakes, it's they're so much bigger because it kind of transforms into a subduction fault. Yeah, Mexico City's had its share of earthquakes too. That's the San Andreas Fault there too. It literally runs right down the coast. Yeah, sorry, Kathy. Didn't mean to put that thought into your head, but yeah, that happens sometimes. It's right on the San Andreas Fault, so that kind of thing can happen. Well, and one of the things when you're dealing with that Alaska earthquake that happened, one of the things you run into with subduction faults that you don't run into with transform boundary faults like we have in California is that the earthquakes can go for minutes at a time. The Alaska earthquake, as I recall, the shaking continued for 4 or 5, 6 minutes. Usually with a transform boundary earthquake fault, when you have the plates moving back and forth like this relative to each other, is it's over in a matter of 10 seconds at worst. Yeah, the 3.7 was located in Southern California near Anzo Borrego. And let's see if I can get an exact location here. Yeah, it looks like actually it isn't on the San Andreas Fault, is it? It's on the not the Newport Inglewood, the Elsinore Fault. It's on the Elsinore Fault, which is interesting. So it looks like it's about, if you know where Temecula is, it looks like it's about 20 miles east of Temecula. I'm looking at the USGS website uh, on my cell phone. It doesn't work very well on the cell phone, which is part of the problem. I should be doing this on my laptop, but right now I'm using the laptop to talk to you. I also got an app that does, maybe the app. Let's look at the app, see if that does a better job. Yeah, that's doing a little bit better of a job. See if you can make it so it doesn't glare as much. But that's like Riverside up here, and Anaheim is over here, Salton Sea, some Mexico border right there. So it's where that green dot is. Like I said, that's a better app for doing it. It's really designed for phones. They've downgraded it too. They're calling it a 3.6 now. That happens a lot of times when the initial numbers you get from the earthquake are calculated by a computer, and then when a real seismologist looks at it and they do the real calculations, the numbers usually go down a little. And it usually takes, when you get a moderate shaker like that, it usually takes them 15 or 20 minutes to get the seismologist in there and have them look at it. Excuse me. I felt that coming for like the last minute or so. Hey, Angela's here just in time for the end. Yeah, I don't know if this is big enough to produce aftershocks, but it's still, like I said, it could be a precursor. It could just be, a random event. But it's usually unusual that you have a bunch of little earthquakes and then get like a moderate one like that. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Yeah, I was hoping I'd see you a little bit here. You popped in right at the end. But that's cool. Glad you got to stop in. You asked a little earlier if I was going to go on today, and yeah, I usually do one on the Saturdays. I had a job interview today, and so that was why I'm doing things a little later. But yeah, J-Ro, if you want to do a Facebook page for Escaping the Mouse, that'd be great. Like I said, I'll join it and contribute from time to time. But I just at this point, I'm focusing all my attention on the vlog, and don't want to be moderating a Facebook page. So it'd be more like the Jaws Pals page where it's just up to you to run it and make sure, set the rules and all that. I still moderate, I'm still a moderator on Jordan's page, and we get in there from time to time, but I'm not even the primary moderator. There's a couple others that are in there more than I do. It's Sunday, 11:46 in Australia. I haven't really seen a whole lot of negative things about Texas. There's a few annoyances that I've run into. About 10 years ago, there was an annoying fad in California where people had pickup trucks or cars that had way too much sound system in them, and they'd crank it up full so loud that the vehicle would shake, and you'd be a half a mile away, and you just hear the boom, boom, boom from someone's truck. I was really glad when that fad kind of faded out. Well, that fad still exists here, so that's an annoyance, but you can deal with that. Yeah, I thought it was weird too that they had the interview on Saturday, but I guess that's when they could get the two people in that had to do the interview. This is one of those businesses that's open 7 days a week, though, so that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, there's a lot of negative stereotypes about Texas, how they're all a bunch of rednecks and racist and all that. It isn't true. It's fake news. It's just it's a stereotype, and just like all stereotypes, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt. I think Texas is more racially tolerant than California is. That's just been my experience. The people are so much nicer. It just everyone talks to each other. Everyone's courteous to each other. And when I was doing that Silo of Screams a few months back, I was blown away by how many interracial couples I saw. You just don't see that as much in California. You think we'll have another tsunami? Not from that one. Not from a 3.7 on the San Andreas fault. A tsunami only comes from an earthquake fault where it's in the ocean and it's a certain kind of fault. San Andreas, well, that wasn't even San Andreas. I think we determined that was Elsinore fault. Elsinore, okay, we got our first troll of the night. There we go. Took forever for that to happen. It's annoying when you someone just posts the same thing over and over again, and then you try and block them, and you can't. Yeah, I mean that's true. Getting back to what we were talking about, there's just it is really a far more tolerant place. I even sort of was suspecting that things were going to be different, but it's different than I thought it was going to be different. The races really do get along a lot better here than they do in California. Yeah, well, that's just part of the fun. You can't. Now you know why I don't want to. Why I don't want to announce where it is I'm going to work. It's why I kind of keep my Facebook page bottled up, and it's people like that. The biggest earthquakes I've ever heard of were the Alaskan earthquake in 1964, and there was one in Chile that was, I think, the largest one ever. Seems odd that there'd be that massive a one in on the Mississippi River, just because there aren't really any faults there. But I suppose I'll look that up and see if I can confirm that. Yeah, some of those big earthquakes can be so massive that they actually change the orbit of the Earth. I've heard of that happening too. I think that was one of those Indonesian earthquakes. Maybe that one on Christmas Eve that or Christmas Day that caused a big tsunami. No, I haven't found a job, but I had an interview today, and the interview was kind of interesting. It was a group interview, uh, me and seven other people, or six other people, or seven total, and a couple of interviewers, and it was interesting. I hadn't done a group interview like that since Disney, so and it was really kind of a low stress because it was more of a conversation than somebody asking you a question you have to answer because we somebody would answer and then we all kind of just build off of each other. Yeah, my mom and dad are still planning on moving. They're gonna move probably in the next 2 weeks or so. I think my mom has an appointment to have the movers at her house sometime about the 15th. Well, my experience with race in California though was based on what I'd see in LA. Because I drove into LA a lot. Yeah, the 1906 earthquake really did a lot of damage, but that wasn't a subduction fault. That was still a transform fault. That just shows how bad those can get. That one, the Loma Prieta quake, the one that interrupted the World Series a couple of decades ago, that one was really weird too because the earthquake epicenter was like 20 miles south of San Francisco, but San Francisco got pelted because um, of the liquefaction and everything just kind of collapsed. Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I gotta get going on my income taxes. I just got my W-2 today from Disney, so that's really the last thing I needed to get. And they really kind of, they're supposed to have it to you by the end of the month, and so they were actually late this time. But it looks like Disney sent it to my old address, and it took time to get forwarded here. So fortunately, that won't be much of a problem anymore because there isn't going to be a W-2 from Disney anymore, and because there aren't going to be any Disney hours this year. Yeah, I'm thinking Jordan has a friend of his named Michael who does his, and Michael's done well with him, and Michael kind of knows how to deal with the vlogging stuff. So I'm thinking I'm maybe going to talk to Michael this year and see if Michael will do mine too. Every year for the last couple of years, I've gone with Jordan when he had Michael do his, and when Michael gets done with Jordan, he always comes to me and says, "You want me to do yours too?" It's like so he seems to really love that stuff. Did I have any Disney income? Yeah, just a very little because the parades ended after the Christmas season, and the Christmas season ended the first weekend after the New Year's. So I have like a week's worth of income from Disney. Well, and that's what I'm thinking, John, is I want to do that, and I want to try and figure out how to protect myself from what happened, from the income I made from the house. That's going to be the big thing. Because when I was talking to my brother-in-law, he said, "Yeah, I expect that you're going to probably put 50 to $60,000 of that going into taxes, and I want to shelter as much of that as I can." Now, my father also mentioned about a year ago to keep my receipts from moving because he said I could deduct a lot of that. So, I've got all the receipts from the pods and from the storage units and all that stuff. So hopefully I'm going to be able to deduct a bunch of that. And, I'm keeping receipts when I go out and do restaurant things and, um, you know, stuff that's expenses for the vlog. Right on early on, I had to buy a new monitor. I have the receipt for that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I can shave a little bit off of it. But I'm expecting to be paying fifty to $60,000 to between Uncle Sam and Uncle Gavin. So I don't know. Anything I can do to minimize that will be a good thing. Well, this will be the last year I have to file income tax with California because, um, the profits from the house, that was all when I lived in California, so they're going to have their hand out with that. And but after that, it's all done. No more California. I'm done with them. The only stuff I have in storage is I have a storage unit nearby here, and um, I don't think I can deduct that because that's not a moving expense. That's a storage. But the pods, that was a moving expense, um, and I think I'm gonna go deduct some of that. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna have Michael look at it and see what he thinks. He's the expert and really seems to love doing that. Do I plan on staying in Texas? Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet that makes me want to leave. So yeah, I'm really happy here. I love this place. But do we have another troll, or are we just commenting on the issue before? Too bad I can't claim escapees as dependents. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking back. Did I miss the trolls here? I haven't seen anything that's triggering me as a troll. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it. We're just about wrapped up anyway. Let's see if that's who everyone's. Yeah, okay, we got rid of him. I saw that, but I guess I just missed it. I made him disappear. I think we're kind of coming to the end of this anyway. It's I had a big lunch this morning with the breakfast or with the restaurant vlog. Oh, Jeff just showed up. Hi, Jeff. We're just kind of signing off right now. Sorry, but I'm starting to get hungry again. So maybe we'll try it next time, Jeff. Sorry, buddy. Anyway, I think that's all I have for tonight. My new video will be coming up in about 29 minutes, and we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time.